Everybody, welcome to the show. Today's guest is retired bail bondsman, actor, and star of the new series, Capo Rise to Power. Please welcome my good friend, Tony Fazz.
How are you, Ray? Thanks for having me.
Bro, this is huge. It's huge. You're on the podcast. You had a huge change of career. I don't even know what the hell's going on. What's going on, man? This is awesome.
We get struck with these things in life, and we got to move on. I mean, what can I say? I mean, one day you're doing one thing, the next day you're doing something else, right? You know what I mean?
Well, let's go back to the beginning. So me and Tony, I think I was thinking about this when I was driving over to record the podcast. I think I've known you for 20 years. I would say a good part, maybe 22, early 2000. Yeah, early 2000.
Early 2000, because pretty much when we were all with Capital, that's what brought us all together from different areas and different states.
Absolutely. So Tony Fazz and I were bail bondsmen in New Jersey prior to anything else. And I think we probably, if they let bail back in the state of New Jersey again, we'd probably be bail bondsmen again. I think that's pretty safe to say.
That's a pretty safe thing to say. Absolutely. Yeah. I miss it.
I probably miss that shit every day. I miss the money. I miss the fun.
I wasn't going to say the financial part of it, but all right, so just put it out there. We miss the money.
I miss the money. I miss the money, the finance. I miss all of that. And then the camaraderie, bro. We had so much. So my company, Blaze, started really small. I had a partner, Eric. We literally started in his kitchen. And then when we opened up our first office, we took his kitchen table because we thought it was good luck. And we put it in the bail bond office. This poor mother didn't have a fucking kitchen table, right? So we bought her a new kitchen table, right? And we started growing from there. And we did a lot of good stuff. We did a lot of good bail bond reform. I think there was a misconception about, bail bondsmen are, knuckle dragging guys doing, whatever. I think there was a lot to it, but I enjoyed it. I missed it. I recently read Kirk Shaw's book. He wrote a book about bail bonds in New Jersey, which is
I got to read it.
Surprisingly good. He sent me an autographed copy of it. I had him on a show a while back. I'm gonna put him back on again. And he did a really, really good job talking about how it was like the end of bail bonds. But you wrote bail for years.
Yeah.
It's the financial reward is great. But what I like to talk about with bail bonds, we're going to soundbite right from the beginning. How stupid were they to have a bail bond convention in Las Vegas every year?
Wow. But you know what? It was a good marketing technique. I mean, I've met a lot of agents, throughout, and then obviously, people who understand the bail business. There's two parts to it. I mean, there's the underwriting part, but then there's also the part of when somebody doesn't show to court, fails to appear, and you got to go out there and and grab them. A lot of people still to this day don't really realize how that works. So, the whole Vegas thing was great. I was able to network with agents all over America. It was awesome. And whenever we set foot that we found somebody in another state, reach out to that agent. Hey, I'm flying out there. I need some assistance, and whatever. So there was some good coming out of Vegas. There really was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that lasted about 4 hours of bullshit. And they have a dinner. They have some sponsored dinners you get invited to. And you did that. And I got to meet some cool people. I met Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah,
I thought and his son Leland, great guy. I got to meet them. I met the lady who wrote the books, the Stephanie Plum books. I can't remember her name. Janet Ivanovich. I got to meet her. I didn't say any stories, so she didn't write them and steal them and put them in her book. You know what I mean? Some of these idiots were like, I just told Janet Ivanovich my best story. I'm like, you're a chooch. Why would you tell anybody your best story?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I met her, and it was just, I had a lot of good. Some things cannot be repeated on air because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
The crew that we were with, listen, those guys were off the hook. And there was one guy, I have him on my list to talk about today, was Muhammad Samara.
Oh boy.
Mo. Listen, Mo had the best connection in Las Vegas. He had a friend who he went to high school with. And this guy, and you were there for this. We're going to talk about this story because I write about this story in a book I was telling you about off air. And Mo had a friend who was in charge of the VIP, right? So he goes, we're going to go to the Hard Rock Cafe. My buddy's in charge over there, and we're going to go straight away. We're going to go to this party. And I'm like, all right, like I'm in, like I've never done this shit before. You know what I mean? I'm in. So we go to the party, and we literally, there's 3,000 people in line trying to get into this club. Like thousands. We meet his buddy, and his buddy says, yeah, you're not waiting in line. You have to do any of that shit. He walks us all the way up to the front of the line. And he says, any of these ladies that you like, or guys, if you're into that, pick them out of the crowd and take them in with you. I'm like, this is fucking crazy. We get up to the front. They let us in. The guy gives us a bottle of Grey Goose, a bottle of whatever kind of rum, a bottle of whatever. And instead of being on the dance floor, we are above the dance floor in like our own booth kind of thing. But it was huge. There was like 20 of us, and it was huge. And we had a waitress, we had a bouncer, and I'll never forget this. To the left of us were some basketball player guys. I don't think anybody famous, but guys with actual money to spend. And like to the right of us were like some fucking Mexican gangsters. To the right,
they were drug
dealers, right? They were drug dealers, right? So there's us in the middle, and we're just having this great party. And they're bringing, they're bringing us more alcohol, and the waitress was like, if your glass was like half empty, she's topping it off, right? And I'm not even a drinker, so like nobody's feeling any fucking pain at this thing, and everybody's having a really good time. But I'll never forget the aftermath of that. And this is where the story gets crazy. I don't think this happened to you, but it happened to me and a couple of the other people. I get home, a couple of days goes by, and I always repeat this story. A couple of days goes by, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table. My wife comes off to me, and she throws like this card down on the table, and she says, "Keep your whores in Vegas." I say, "What the fuck is she talking about?" Right? Keep my whores in Vegas. I open up the card, and it's from Hard Rock. It says Hard Rock on it. I open up the card, and it says, "Thank you for a great night, Asia." I'm like, oh fuck, right? Like, what the fuck did I do, right? What the fuck's going on, right? So I look at this. Literally 20 minutes later, my phone rings. It's Rodney on the phone. He goes, "Bro, I just got this card in the mail. It said, 'Thank you for a great night, Asia.'" Right? Hour later, we're calling around. Muhammad's on the phone. Mo's like, "I got this card in the mail. Thank you for a great night, Asia." I'm like, what the fuck?
Everybody got it.
Bro, we figured out what it was. I gave Asia like $200. Rodney gave Asia a couple $100. Muhammad, he could have given her $1,000. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows what happened that night? Everybody, this girl had to make a couple $1,000s in tips.
Yeah.
So she mailed everybody. She had our comp cards. So anybody that she had the comp card for, because me, I'm cheap as shit. I'm trying to get points. She mailed out thank you notes to everybody, the comp card. So my wife was like, "I don't know who the fuck this Asia is, some hooker, whatever." Like, writing thank you notes. That Las Vegas trip was so out of control, and it was so fucking funny. But listen, that's when you're in your 30s, and that's what it's all about. And you have that, you have that good experience. But you've transitioned from crazy bail bonds to getting into acting. And tell me about the transition, because I think the transition, one day you're like driving Uber, and like the next day you're on the set of Gravesend. So like, how did that all happen for you?
So I have a friend that he actually worked for me in the bail bond business. Big guy, he's like 6'2", and he somehow, some shape and form out there, hooked up with an actor by the name of William DeMayo. William DeMayo has been in the in the acting field for 30 plus years, and through the course of hanging out, he says, "Hey, I met this great guy, and yada yada. We're gonna hang out soon." So the first time I met William, we went out to South Philly.
Oh, nice.
And they were running a promotion for a gentleman who opened up like a cheesesteak stand or something. So, we met up out there, met with him, met with a few other people. My buddy Rocco doesn't really like to drive. He's one of those guys that prefers to be driven. So that's how the course of this started. We ended up going out a few more times after. We went to a function. We went to a function in New York City. And he says, hey, you know, in October, which was a year ago, we're going to start filming season 2 of Gravesend. And, you know, Rocco's going to be in it. And then, you know, Rocco says to my buddy, says, you know, I'm going to need somebody to drive me out to, you know, Brooklyn every day. So of the course of, you know, driving, it turned into getting a little small background, a second background, you know, a third background. And literally, you know, in acting, you don't know what's going to make the cut. They film, they film, they film. Next thing you know, I'm on the show called Gravesend, you know? And
Wow.
I just, like they say, like we used to say in recovery, you know, boots on the ground, you go running. I haven't stopped yet. So got involved in a few other things, you know, after that. And it's been great. I mean, I'm enjoying myself. And if it leads me somewhere, hey, great. But I put the hard work in. I'm not scared to work. That's one thing.
So you went from driving this guy back and forth from Jersey to Brooklyn.
To Brooklyn. Yeah, that's where we filmed.
To then, hey, can you stand in the background here?
Correct.
Here's another background shot. Can you do this one?
Can
and then
next
thing you know, they give you a couple lines, probably, right?
Yes, a couple lines, absolutely. And if anybody knows the industry, you know, you start out doing background work. I've met actors who did background work for years. And I mean, you know, 4 or 5 years. I mean, you know, you just gotta, you know, kind of like, you know, be in the right spot, the right time, catch a break. And it goes from there. I mean, do I have that fatigue Italian look? Absolutely. One big thing that helps me is I speak fluent Italian.
Oh, sure.
So as you know, we go on to other things that I worked on. I mean, it comes in handy, you know, it really does. An extra tool that you could say, you know, in the acting field when you know a second language.
Oh, sure.
But
sure,
you know.
And listen, don't worry about that. You know, look at Pesci and look at all those guys. They were all typecast into like gangster movies or mafia movies.
Absolutely.
But who cares? Because you're acting, and there's other guys out there breaking fucking rocks with their heads for a living every day. So if someone said to me, you could go be in a Italian movie, this is going to be okay. Like, it's better than, you know, hanging sheetrock all fucking day long. That's for sure.
It's funny. After I finished Gravesend, one of the first things I did is what's called a pilot, where they put something together and they're, you know, basically trying to sell it off. So there's various sites that, you know, us actors are on. You pay a premium to, you know, be noted out there. And I responded to something that was of an Italian script. Here I am doing this, don't even know what I'm going to get involved in, right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
And guy shoots me back, sends me a script and says, hey, you know, it was I want to say a 1-page script with 5 or 6 different narratives on it. And so I just need you to, you know, act this out, but you got to read it in Italian. Yeah, no problem. Piece of cake. Thank you. When I got the script, I was stressed. I was, you know, and, you know, I had to reach out to one of the actors and he's like, no. What you got to do is you got to take that whole script, print it out in Italian, then read it in Italian. You have the English part, because to go from English to Italian back and forth, it's a no. So, you know, I did it. I spent about a week studying it. Not too bad. You know, went out to New York, Long Island, and shot that. And I was like, you know what? After I did that, I'm like, I could do this.
Absolutely.
But bro, you know, there's long days on the set. People don't realize it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. You know what I mean? There are, you know, very, very long days. And when you, you know, you cast for something, you know, and you're on set, you know, it's not just knowing your lines to produce that moment. You have to get into character, you know what I mean? So some guys start out a little rough and then, you know, get into it. You know, when I was in Gravesend, you know, I won't mention the actor, not to, you know, disform him or anything. And I'm watching the seasoned actor and he's just messing up the lines, I'm not to the other guy. And I'm like, I don't understand. This guy's a good 20-year actor. We broke for lunch. You know, he went back to his trailer. Everybody relaxed. We came back. We start reshooting the scene, and he blew it out of the park. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, what it is, and I tell people, it's like, you know, a pitcher in baseball. He goes in a pitching mound and he has to warm up. And I mean, he's not throwing a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in his first 5 pitches. You know, after 30, 40 pitches, he's warming up. Acting's the same way. You got to warm up. You got to get into your role. And then, you know, once you do it, I mean, it's just every day, every time I'm out there, you know, it gets better and better. I just finished up a few weeks back on a comedy movie,
Okay.
and I want to say that's my biggest role so far. You know, it's about me owning a clown company. And
Nice.
yeah, exactly. You know, I was looking to
Nice.
do something different. You know, and it's funny. I bouncing back and forth here. You know, I got the script before I was going to Florida to do another show, which is my premiere show. It's going to be called Capo Rise to Power.
Right.
And yeah, you know, and this is the gentleman that I did a pilot with in New York for the Italian show. And
Nice.
anyway, he sends me out a script. I pretty much just, my mind right now is thinking about Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and what we got to film down there, and you know, practice it. So I run off the script, whatever. You know, it's great to not, technology today is great. Everything's off iPhones, you know, your smartphones, and then I send it out to him, and you know, I don't hear nothing. You know, about a week passes, I jump on a flight. I'm in Florida. You know, halfway through my course of Florida, he you know, he reaches out to me. He says, "Hey, that was good. Can you redo it a little more emphasis towards the character and blah blah blah?" So listen, my man, I'm in Florida. I'm over here with a crew, and you know, when I get back, no problem. And I get back, about a week passes, I get a text. I'm like, damn it, let me go in my garage, light up a cigar, and then you know, I re-auditioned for it. Now I have a clearer head. Re-auditioned for the part, and you know, 2 days later, I was like, hey, listen, you got it. And he sends me the script. All right, no problem. Sends me a 29-page script. That's my, you know, the whole script was probably 80 pages.
That's great.
I had 29 out of 80. So I spent the course of the next, you know, 3 weeks breaking down page by page, studying it. And then, you know, when you get on, it's kind of easy. It's kind of hard. It all depends how your muscle memory is in your head as far as remembering lines.
Right.
If you have that, it's good. If not, you know, in the old days, they used to have the dummy cards in the background. Today, they do it on, you know, video monitor. But that's another technique to be learned. If you don't need to learn it, you don't learn it. You know what I mean? You know, and it's basically looking really quick at the camera, off the camera, looking at your lines, and then, you know, getting back into the character as far as whatever you're doing. So, you know, I finished that up a few weeks back. You know, like I said, it was close to 29 pages of script. Had a great time doing it. Hopefully, comes something of that.
Sure.
You know, we are going back in February to start filming episode 2 of Capo Rise to Power.
Nice.
You know, we have our premiere for that in December down in Florida. So looking to really see, you know, and then in between, maybe just take a few small things. But I've kept myself busy as far as in the acting world in the short time I've been in it.
Were you surprised, or like, to me, like, I'm always fascinated about like the behind the scenes kind of like thing. Like, were you shocked that like, here's like, wow, that's where the camera's at, or this is how they film this, or like, this is, you know, like the procedure of it, you know what I mean?
Listen, absolutely. You know, when I got on Gravesend, remember, I mean, I started out as Gravesend basically being a driver. You know, bringing out this gentleman. He was kind of like, you know, Williams, so to say, you know, security bodyguard on set, watching his back. And I basically started out by observing what's going on there every day, watching this one. And I remember maybe the second day on set, where it was a little more acting going on. And funny, I'm watching actors, and I get in the room and I'm having a drink, and I see the guy walking around, and I see him mumbling, "Oh, this guy's talking to himself."
Yeah,
you know right. I mean? And you know what? Fast forward, he's basically warming up, and he's reading off. You know, he's reading off his lines. There's videos of me in Florida that I'm walking on the side of the car scene, and I'm trying to get into character. I'm reading off the lines. So, you know, it was, the formality for me was the month I spent on Gravesend. I learned a lot. You know, I sat back and I watched the seasoned actors. I mean, you know, just to name a few that were on there, you know, man, catching a blank now. Leo Rossi, I say first because Leo Rossi's a Jersey guy. You know, he's from Trenton. He's from Trenton, New Jersey. You know, took me under his wing, showed me a lot of pointers. I mean,
wait a minute, what was his name? Leo Rossi?
Leo Rossi. He's a Trenton guy. He lives in Cali now, but he's originally from New Jersey.
Listen to this, bro. I used to live next door. Now, this is when I lived in Trenton. Like, I lived in downtown Trenton. I lived in North Trenton. So it wasn't downtown, but it was like North Trenton. I lived next door to the Leo Rossi Memorial Park.
Wow. Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a family member. If he's from Trenton, maybe his dad, maybe. I mean, we used to climb trees in there and like fucking play ball and stuff, you know.
His roots are there. I mean, you know, great guy. Spent the day together with him. I had the likes of being around a Monasante. Oh my God. I mean, you know, we just talked about Italy, and just taking in being with these, these characters. You hear a lot of different formalities, characters are stuck up and whatever, but I can honestly say that, the course of my time, everybody I've met has been phenomenal, and, teaching me little pointers, Leo being one of them. Fran Drescher was on our set, the nanny.
Oh, cool.
A lot of people ask me, does she talk like that? She talks like that cranky voice.
Yeah, sure.
Great woman. I mean, another one was Sophia Milos. Sophia Milos, if everybody remembers her, she played on The Sopranos. She was the mob boss of the Napoli family when she came over. Okay.
Real? Oh, I know who she is.
Inspirational woman. I mean, listen, she speaks 7 different dialects of Italian. She blew me out of the park.
Holy shit.
We were talking Italian on the set. I mean, yeah, she's from Italy. So I met her. I mean, the likeness of meeting so many people is, and everybody's been great. Everybody's just, with a positive vibe, and, when you work on these sets, it's incredible.
I think when people say that, when people say like, oh, I met so-and-so, he's an asshole. All right. This is how I look at this. Okay. You're like in the mix. So like everybody there's got, like you're one of the actors. You're like one of the guys, one of the people that are there. If this guy's out fucking eating dinner, if, William DeMayo or Leo Rossi, and you go up there and be like, I'm going to take a selfie with you. And this guy's got like half a cannoli in his mouth. Be like, what the fuck's the matter with you? You know what I mean? And then that's, oh, he was an asshole, or he was this, or he was that. Nah, motherfucker.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that. We finished filming one day. We were filming in Brooklyn, and we had to go over to Little Italy. I want to say it was mid-October of last year. And Amano Sante was in Little Italy. They filmed a new movie called Don Q. They're finishing up, Don Q. And that was actually the first place I met Amano Sante. And Amano Sante sitting in the corner, he's eating his dinner, and I'm a kind of guy, when I eat, I don't want to be bothered, bro. You know what I mean? I want to fucking eat because, I got things, and I says to William DeMayo, let him eat. We're here. We're not going anywhere. It turns out that, William was actually, DeMayo was actually part of that movie in the shot. Joseph D'Onofrio, great guy from Brooklyn. He played, he plays Al Capone in Don Q. And, when he was done, he came over, hey, spent about 10, 15 minutes, took some photos with him, Again, this was when I was first starting out, and then I want to say a few days later, he's on set with us in Gravesend. He's an actor on it, and
nice.
In between takes, we're sitting at the chair, we're talking. Spent about a good 2 hours talking with him. We were talking about Sicily. I was giving him pointers when he goes to Italy, and great guy. Just I was blessed with meeting exceptional actors. I mean, I can't say anything more than that. I mean, some people say you meet people, and my theory is in life, you grow up with somebody, and they become somebody. Well, my theory is if they were an asshole when you went to grade school, they're going to be an asshole whether they're president, whether they're an actor. They're always going to be an asshole. That you just can't take that out of somebody. And that's what I've learned. And I was exceptionally lucky that everybody I've met has been great. Right? They've been great. I mean, and they helped my career along the way.
See, I always laugh because I guess when I don't think that people understand how hard, the amount of hard work that goes into if you want to be successful. It doesn't matter what you want to be, whether you want to be an actor, a podcaster, a doctor, or whatever. You have to work at it. Like if you don't fucking show up and work, study. In your case, you have to study, you have to learn the part, you have to act the part, you have to know the lines, you have to do whatever. For podcasting, I have to deal with Rob, who's making me read fucking commercials and worrying about show prep, and this is the angle of this, and we fucked with this camera for a fucking hour before you got on the show. You know what I mean?
And just to touch base with you, like and I probably said this in the beginning of the podcast, it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, I remember one day. And understand that, we were driving out there and I said, you know what, if I come back for season 3 on Gravesend, I'm getting a hotel in Brooklyn. I'm not doing this driving. It's in the beginning when I did it, I was just a driver. I wasn't an actor. And, I went out to Long Island to film. It was about 5 or 6 days of filming. Man, you're talking about a 2-hour drive every day from Jersey out there. And there's no traffic. It's exhausting when you get there. You want to be relaxed. And, one day we pretty much for the most part, we're leaving at 5 a.m. Anybody knows that hustle and bustle, especially during COVID, cutting through Staten Island to get to Brooklyn, it's a little bit rough. So if you leave 10 minutes, I don't care where you live, if you leave 10 minutes too late in the morning on a commute, you can be screwed up. And, we were leaving here at 5. We had to be on set by 7 a.m. in Brooklyn, and then one morning we were out there 7 in the morning. I don't even think I was filming that. No, actually, I'm wrong. I did film in the course of the middle of the day. We were at a yacht club, and we started at 7 a.m. We finished up a little after 4:30 in the morning. You talk about a long day. Now I got to drive back to Jersey. So at that point, really, you're up for 24 hours because I was getting up at 4 in the morning. I got to have my espresso in the morning, by the way. Got to have that espresso because if not, I don't function. You talk about class A bitch. I got to have it. I mean, so it's funny because when I went down to Florida to film, I brought my portable machine with me.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's fucking awesome.
Our director, we'll get into that throughout the course of the show, is a awesome woman, Ashley DeGrande. She's Cuban, of Cuban descent. And Cubans are like Italians. They love coffee like us. So, I get on the set and I'm taking something out of the box when we're setting up a scene, which was a house scene. And she looked over and she's like, what does Fazz have over there? Oh, my man came down with an espresso machine from New York. And she's like, I love him already. So
I'm actually on the Capo Rise to Power
page,
Facebook page, and I'm looking. It's funny that you brought her up. I have a picture of her. That's what I'm looking at, and Rob will probably find it and pull it up at some point.
We also are on an Instagram. I think people follow more on Instagram.
I'm old.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this social media
find it on Instagram, but
we're on Instagram. So there's a lot of photos on there. There's photos of me on there, but if anybody would like to follow, it'll give you on Instagram. It gives you the updates of the shows. We have another trailer coming out, I think, next month. We put out 2 mini trailers. Great feedback for that show too, by the way.
So back on Gravesend for 1 second. So Gravesend is an NBC show. It's an NBC show, but it's out now on Amazon, and the second season's going to be on Amazon too.
As of right now, from what I was told, yes, it's going to be on Amazon the second season. So the first season was only 4 episodes. I want to say the second season is going to probably be close to 10.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot of filming. Yeah. So, always obviously, going to go a little bit more. William is the, not only does he act in it, he's the writer and he's the director of it. And, and basically the formality of that show is the 5 mafia families. Obviously they use different names for, obvious reasons.
And they don't get whacked.
And I love it because it's the 80s setback. That was our time, the 80s, late 86, 87, and he's got a featured car in his show that he actually does own, and it's a Grand National. You know what I mean? Nice. And I owned one. Everybody knows me that I owned one. You know what I mean? So
that's a
I got to drive his. I got to drive his. He's got a few cars. He's got some Cadillacs and stuff. He uses a lot of his vehicles in his car. But hats off to William. He gave me my start. I mean, I'll never forget that.
In the Mafia in the 1980s. So when I was young, we lived in Trenton, and we used to go. They had Feast of St. Joseph, and they still have this every year. But back in the day, that Feast of St. Joseph, and it was in the Rectory Hall in the basement of the school, and they would pack this thing out. Every fucking Italian in Trenton and the surrounding area, it was like a beacon of Italianness. All those guys were gangsters. Yeah. Every single one of them. So I grew up in that environment. And I was never involved in any of that stuff. But I grew up with this guy owned a store and this guy did this and this guy did that. And it was always, safe to walk the streets and it was never a problem. And you know what I mean?
And correct me if I'm not wrong, Trenton was mainly a lot of the Philly family, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The Scarfo family over there.
Scarfo, yeah. Oh, listen. There are people that in my neighborhood that got fucking whacked, 100%. 100%. But my family was never about. My dad was a mechanic. He worked fucking 12 hours a day. My mom was a school teacher. We knew everybody. We were friends with everybody, but we kind of just went on our way. And in the neighborhood, kind of the kids started moving out. You wanted to, not go to the Catholic school, and you ended up going to, looking for a better public school or looking for whatever. And, we ended up moving a couple towns over, and it worked out, you know what I mean? And still a lot of these guys, I just went to the St. Joseph festival. It was, I would say it was about 150 people, 100 of which are probably over the age of 70. So we're making a pact this year where all the guys my age, we were all kind of staying in touch on Facebook and staying in touch on Instagram and doing it. We're going to try to get all those guys to come and their families to come this year too, to try to keep
when is it? When is it, Ray?
I think it's March 13th.
Let me know.
If you want to come, Tony, you come.
I'll make an appearance. Absolutely. I love getting around neighborhoods and the communities, and I travel a lot.
The food is fantastic. I mean, it's a nice sit down dinner. The food is fantastic. They have music, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Carrie St. Joseph and it's the whole thing. You know what I mean?
When you drive around and you go to these neighborhoods, whether it be Trenton, whether it be Brooklyn, and you're absolutely right. It's the old timers that are still there, because the kids end up becoming something of themselves, and a lot of them move out to the suburbs. And, they move into these big homes. But that old school Italian of the neighborhood it's so great if you were raised around it, then to lose that out, it's like Brooklyn. I mean, when you watch this Gravesend, it's about the formality of the Gravesend section of Brooklyn where William DeMayo grew up at. It's unbelievable, and to be able to put that on video, make a show about it is phenomenal. It's the same thing with these Italian neighborhoods. No matter where you go, they're out in Pennsylvania. When I was on set in North Carolina, I met a gentleman from Ohio. There's a part of Ohio, it's called Little Italy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's incredible how many different spots around the globe that have this stuff still, and it's good.
I was in St. Louis. I was in St. Louis, and the Italian section is called Down the Hill. And you walk down this hill, bro. It's like you're in Little Italy in New York. It's
awesome.
And the food was sensational. You're like, oh fuck, St. Louis. The only place there's no good Italian food, and maybe it's changed. I was in Arizona. I was in Phoenix a few years back. They had one good fucking Italian restaurant. That was it. I ate there every night. They got good
tacos out there, right?
Yeah, they got fucking. If you like Tex-Mex, you're in good shape. But when I went out there the last time, bro? Oh, this is fucking classic. I went out there. Me, Jason from Connecticut.
Jason.
I'm trying to think who else was it. There was like 4 of us, right? There was me, Jason from Connecticut, and a couple other guys, right? We went out there, and I had my in-laws live in Phoenix. So we went out there to check on my in-laws, right? And then we drove from Phoenix to Las Vegas. And I'm gonna tell you, that was a tremendous. First of all, shout out to Jason from Connecticut. That motherfucker can play craps like no other human being on the planet, bro.
Absolutely, I played with him.
He is the top-notch craps player. A little too conservative for my liking, but that guy, and I'll never forget, there's one time we were playing craps. Guy walks up to the table. He's got a hat on and a white shirt. And he goes, guys who wear white shirts and blue hats roll 6s. And I'm like, what the? You make this shit up, right? Fucking 6. I'm like, oh shit. Like maybe there's something to it, right? This guy, he rolled 21 times. 7 of the 21 times, this motherfucker rolled a 6. Well, we cleaned up. It was insanity, but he had all these crazy rules and all these crazy things. But I got Jason on the podcast because Jason's a chill dude, but his stories are great. So you go from Gravesend to Capo Rise to Power, and you find yourself that now you have a bigger part in the Capo Rise to Power.
Yeah. Can you hear me good, Right?
I can see you. I can hear you fine, but you look sideways. You sound good, but hey, Rob, is he sideways? Oh, there you go.
There he goes.
What the fuck's going on?
He doesn't have to hold it sideways.
So,
guys, what happens when you get 50-year-olds fucking around on computers? This is exactly what happens.
We got to learn this technology. So basically,
Christ.
When I was on Gravesend, and I have a great friend. His name is James Barbarisi. He's originally a Long Island kid. Now he lives down in Florida, Tampa area. So you meet a lot of people when you're on set, obviously. So we're on set that day. And, he's a background guy like me. He did some filming down in Miami, Florida, which they also filmed a part of Gravesend. And, we're on set that day. We're doing a couple stints. And then, we hook up. We become friends. We take some pictures. Sure. We exchange phone numbers. Next thing you know, the next day we're filming again. We filmed a few more scenes. And then, that's where we kept in touch. And then, he was on to doing whatever he does. I went on to do what I do. And then, he reached out to me, way back after and said, hey, we have this show that we're doing in Florida, Capo Rise to Power. And, I might have a good, fit and role for you. So I'm like, okay, great. You know what I mean? And I says, let me know, send me the audition. He says, you ain't got to audition. I know how you are. Where you're going to play my father in his thing. And I'm like super excited and, get the script, read it. And, obviously I'm playing, the throwback scenes because I play his father. And again, it's the 80s of Long Island. And I'm like, hey, one thing is I'm not like some of these people. Oh, I'm not going to bother with that if it's not, I'm whatever. And it turns out I initially thought, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to film one or two things and I'm good. And as it turns out to be now, there's going to be reoccurring roles in that as a main character. So, got the script in, and then something happened where the producer got sick, and then they wanted to hold off. And, Jimmy's a go-getter like me. He just jumped in there and started, reaching out and said, hey, we got to find another producer to produce this. That's where we found Ashley, and we went out to, Florida. And funny thing be said, when he sat down with her and said, hey, listen, I have a list of characters, and so forth, and nothing bad against Ashley. She didn't want me for the cast of Anthony Baresi. You know what I mean? That's his name. And I'm like, do I got to send somebody down to Miami to take care of her? So we ended up, having like a rehearsal, via Zoom, like we're doing right now. And we did that once, we did it twice. And then when I got down to Florida, she just had a different change of venue, I guess. And great woman, great, she works hard, and then she loves the Tony Fazz. And then another thing is that you remember my brother Michael. Michael worked with us in bail bonds. And
I was literally just gonna bring up, like any good Italian, bro. You brought your family in, like any good fucking paisan. And you brought family in.
We had this other guy cast, another new actor that we met on the set in Brooklyn, and I guess he had commitments to something else that he was going to look at. And then, Jimmy calls and says, hey, we lost, in the show, it's called, Paul Baresi, which he's my brother on the show. And, he's like, we got to try to find somebody else. Okay, let me know. I said, you need help, with the cast of that, let me know. And maybe a good day or two passes. I'm having coffee. I'm home. And, when we get to this older age, our thinking cap isn't as strong as it used to be when we were 20 years old, right? You know what I mean?
True. Very true.
And I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself now, my younger brother, Michael, and he's about 10 years younger than me. He was in acting when he was like a teenager. And I remember, one thing he auditioned for back in the day, Bronx Tale. And a lot of people that noticed, he made it to the final 3 of Little Colodro.
Get out of here, really?
Yeah. He made it to the final 3. I mean, it was like down to 100 auditions, and he just kept going back, and he just kept hitting it. And then, one thing, when you're young, I think that he made it to the final 3, and then he didn't make the cut. And then they found the kid who they had now. He's
a kid that got locked up, right?
No, that was the older Colodro.
You mean the little one? The little, yeah.
The little one that was.
I don't know that kid's name. Yeah, but I know who you're talking about.
So, he ended up getting it, and then my little brother didn't get it. So I guess he was kind of beat up from it. I mean, he did a few other things. He did a commercial with Phil Rizzuto, but what I'm getting at is he did have some background in acting. So I'm having espresso, and I reach out to Jimmy in Florida. I was like, listen, how about my little brother could play? And you know what? Not realizing where it's going to go. And he's like, I think it's great. I'll run it by the director, and then blah, 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 blah. I said, well, first of all, I got to reach out to him, make sure he wants to do it.
Yeah, he actually wants to, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I reach out to him. I said, what do you think about getting back into it? He went nuts on the phone. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I ended up sending him, his script, and it was very small for his script and stuff. And I could say that my brother casting in real life as my brother, and then being my brother on the show made my position a lot easier. You know what I mean? It was great, and I don't want to give away the details, but it's an awesome scene that we film in the car, and this is the scene that's going to open up Capo Rise to Power. So I could release that information. It's going to be
it's your little brother, bro. He doesn't do it right.
My little brother, and then my good friend Jimmy, he's in the backseat as a younger Michael Baresi when he's like, very, very young. So,
right.
And, it's not going to be your normal mafia thing. It's going to be mafia with a setting of like a ghost in it. It's going to be something totally different. It's going to be actually great. You know what I mean? So, like I said,
can tell you how small the world is. There's a girl, a woman on your show, an actress, Nicole Kerr. Right?
She plays my wife.
She is cousins with my friend Sam Benesi. So her maiden name is Nicole Benesi. She's my friend Sam. I was remodeling his kitchen while you guys were filming all this, and I'm like, "Holy shit, wow. Sam, this is your cousin." Like she's starring in a movie or a TV show, rather. I'm like, this is what a small world.
If you go on, on the site for a couple, there's some photo flicks that we took on site. And she's actually a Jersey girl. She's from Jersey. I want to say she said she went out there when she was very young, but she's originally. So
here's the Capo Rise to Power Instagram. This is why Rob's around, because I have no fucking clue how to do this. But that's besides here and there. So we got some cool pictures. So the guy in the middle, assassinating. Jimmy's the guy on the picture on the right hand side. He's the guy in the tan shirt. So he's really the star of the show, right?
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. If you go down to the middle picture, on the left is Lou Silva, great guy. He's originally from Philly. And
nice.
Jimmy again, my good friend in the middle, and that's Ashley DeGrande. She's the director. She's from Miami.
Okay.
She is awesome. She is.
Hey Rob, close that one. Open up the one. Yeah, open up this one that's right next to it. Yeah, open that one up. So that's a Philly guy. Where's Jimmy from? Is he from? He's from Jersey too, or no?
No, Jimmy's a Long Island guy.
Long Island, and then that's your director.
That's my director on the right, Ashley DeGrande. She's from Southern Florida. Yeah.
What's her background? Because it said in one of the posts, it said award-winning director. So I guess she won a Grammy award.
Yeah,
or she won something like that.
She's done a few different things. I mean, hard worker though. I mean, when I heard she was Cuban, my background with Cubans is they like to work hard. And
look at Ronnie Pedrillo, 24 hours a day. He's a fucking animal.
He's an animal. And when I got to Florida, and I was like, I'm here to work. I'm here to get it done. I'm not jerking around, and we hit it off good. You know what I mean?
Hold on one second, Rob. Stop right there. In the left picture, who's the scary guy? That fucking guy. If he pulled up, the guy that's driving a car, I'd be shitting myself. I'm just putting that out there. He's scary as fuck.
He's another guy. He's from Orlando, Florida. He's a great guy. Salvatore Izzo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believe he plays Vinny on the show. Yeah, great guy. Tall. He's a big guy too.
That guy's fucking terrible. A guy like that pulls up to my house. I'm like, fucking Prestige, get the guns out. We got to fucking roll.
We just got such a great set of characters on the show. I mean, it's phenomenal what we do. If you go down a little bit, you'll see. He took it off, but Nicole was there.
He'll throw it back on again.
Go back up.
See, Tone, this is the advantage that Rob brings to the show, right?
Oh, no,
I don't even know how to fucking find this. I like the middle picture on the bottom when you're in the Italian special right over there. In the sleeveless there. There you go. See, you look like half of the guys who I growing up. I like that. You look like a good 50 fucking %.
To the left of me is the young lady you mentioned, Nicole. She's originally from Jersey, lives in Florida.
Nice.
And then to the left there would be, we have two sets of kids. That's when they're teenagers. Will be my daughter on the show, and then obviously Michael, and then there's other sets and other pictures of the kids when they were smaller too.
Tom, what's the goal of a lot of? Do most of these actors have regular full-time jobs, or do a lot of these guys this is what they do for a living? What is it like a mix on the set?
It's funny you mentioned that. One of the things I've noticed and learned is people say it's very hard to make it in the movie industry. One of the main reasons that it's so hard to make it is financially when you're starting out. That's even when you meet young actors that are kids 7, 8 years old. Well, a responsible parent either cannot work and has to always be taking them to auditions, has to be doing this. So one of the hardest things is to make it in this industry financially. You have to be set. So again, that's where it came in, where I was able to do, Uber and Lyft, because it's a job where if you want to take off a week and go film, when you come home, you still have a job. Okay?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You know, and that's one of the greatest things about it. But you know, in the beginning, it's a lot of running around, and you know, and I've seen actors who can cast and land on something big, and then after that, who knows where it goes. So, you know, everybody on the show, does have a full-time job. Absolutely. You know, Nicole, for instance, she's got she's got like 3 vitamin stores that she does.
Oh, cool.
You know, who sells insurance. You know, my buddy Jimmy's involved in a school with sports and stuff. You know what I mean? And then he has a sports franchise. You know, and everybody has something.
Now, if this shit hits it big, if this gets picked up by somebody, then you're like, yo, fuck it. Like this is like becomes a full-time. That's the goal. Becomes a full-time career, right? You see,
it becomes a full-time career. You know, becomes a
cool.
full-time career. Yeah, there goes Nicole there on the right. There you go. You know,
this is cool.
Like
I said, I've always been fascinated with the actual, like, to me, it's like the stuff that you're telling me is fascinating because you see what's happening on TV and it's like, it's becomes real. So what's really weird about social media is as you follow people on social media, you think you start becoming their fucking friend. Right. So like you start finding yourself in these positions where you're like, oh, I want to see what, you know, what my favorite actor is doing, or I want to see what my favorite, you do it a lot with sports people. So you start to get that feeling where it's like, oh, you know, I could be so-and-so's buddy. Like I listen to Joe Rogan every day. I feel like me and Joe could like hit it off. You know what I mean? That's not reality. That's you know, make-believe land. You know what I mean? But you get that intimacy with people, and then you start to feel that when you're watching them on TV. And if the show is good, then you get to be very intimate, and you get to like, oh, I want to see. It's like The Sopranos, bro. Every Sunday night, I used to watch The Wire and the fucking Sopranos. Every Sunday night.
It's funny because you have the younger generation, and you know, Sopranos was the mid-early 2000s, and I was explaining to people, you can relate to this, right? On Sunday at 10 o'clock. The bell-bound phone wasn't getting fucking answered. Nobody was answering that goddamn phone on Sunday.
Nope. From 10 to 11.
I says America pretty much on a Sunday sat down and shut down for the most part. I mean, the phone was left in the bedroom. I went in the family when we watched it. I mean, I had my mom and dad when they were living with me watching it. I mean, it's just crazy. And if we could live up to the hype of having that, I mean, I'd be extravagant. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do. I mean, it was just, I don't think any show is ever going to match.
No.
The writing that took part in that show is just phenomenal. I mean,
well, it's like a team. So it's like you have to do your part, but then your producer's got to be great. Your director's got to be great. The people write the scripts got to be great, and then it's got to all kind of come together. Like it's like a basketball team. Like if you had just a good point guard,
And I've said this on a podcast that I did when we did an interview for Capo Rise to Power. So, went out that day, filmed a few different parts, took a little bit of a rest, and then we had to film the car scene, which was at night. Now, anybody can tell you, sitting in a 1967 Lincoln Continental in Florida heat, it's hot in that fucking car, man. And you're talking about at night, no sun. And we filmed for a good part of 4 hours in a car. How I made it to this day, I don't know, but that's the work. That's the workforce you have in it. I mean, my brother was even worse for him, but at a certain point when we're out there filming, you get that Florida, rain. It's like a drizzle, whatever.
Sure.
And I said this on again, like when we were doing my interview, and here we are. There's a bunch of actors. Everybody, we're sitting in a car, and 3 other actors, Jimmy, Vinny, Steve. Everybody grabs towels. These are actors now, and they're drying the car down. I mean, the effort that went into it was phenomenal. Like everybody chipped in together because, hey, this is a new show. We want to make it happen. And it's just seeing that night, it's like, I can't wait to go back and film again. You know what I mean? What
does your wife and family, I know you got 2 beautiful kids, you got your wife. What do they say about the situation?
They're very supportive of it.
Good.
And it is a lot of hard work. And then, you got the mix of people around you, which when you've been on this earth long enough, who's got your back and who's like, making the makiloki on you. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. We'll talk about that.
You unfortunately, they're great. I mean, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. I hope it leads to something. That's what you're always doing, acting. I mean, but yeah, they're very supportive of it. But then again, you got some other people who are just, downhill, just, whatever. But again, getting back to the situation I was telling you, it's not easy. It's hard. It's a lot. It is a lot of hard work. I mean, when you're filming, one of the things that you can't do, and a lot of people do this, I've seen it. Thank God I don't have this problem, is to look directly at the camera. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, when you're getting into role, it's almost like recording a record. I've talked to recording artists, and you're in the studio for 8 hours. And at a certain point, the producer on the record, he sees you hit that pitch. He's not letting you go home. We're going to finish this record now.
Yeah.
And, it's just almost the same thing with, when you're producing a show or a movie. I mean, hey, I feel like, when we were in New York and I was doing the comedy movie, and again, it was like an office scene, and then we did it. He goes, "Oh, that was great." And I turned around to the producer. I said, something? I wasn't happy with the last 2 minutes of that fucking stint. I want to do it again. Let's do it. It's short. It's a 2 minute. Let's do it. And then you get back into it. And the more you do something, the more your character, plays into role. And then when we were done, he's like, "Oh man, that's freaking great. Let's just get one for safety." So you turn around and then you do it. I mean, so you kind of, as an actor, you feel out your role when you're doing something. If it's good, obviously the producers, got the saying in it. And getting back to like this Capo, when I had my script, it was, a part of the script, the last line, I went to the director in Florida. Again, they have the saying. And I said, "Listen, I like the script. It's great. There's nothing wrong with the script, because actors can change that. People don't know that. You get on set and say, 'Hey, I don't want to say this word. I want to use this word.' Hey, as long as the producer's happy with it, you go with it." And I said to Ashley, "I want to read this last phrase in Italian." She went nuts. She loved it. You know what I mean?
Good idea.
I think it'll go good. I'm not going to give it away. And I mean, I in my mind, I just don't want to be an actor. I want to get on set and I want to have creative ideas. And I just think that, a lot of mafia stuff is coming out now. And I get this a lot. And I think my answer to that is, you have to understand that a lot of these gangsters, they went to jail doing life sentences 25 and 30 years. They're all starting to come out now. The ones that lived. And they have a choice. They want to either be a gangster or they want to tell their story. I don't think anybody who served 30 years wants to be a gangster anymore. I really don't.
They all want to tell their story.
They all want to tell their story. So that's where the whole mafia stuff is starting to be big again, whether it's New York, whether it's Philly, whether it's, Boston, Louisiana, whatever. But that's the emphasis of that. You know what I mean? So
I think so. I think it's interesting. Oh, here's your page, bro. Look at you. Look at this. Look at this Benda Giovanotto. Look at this young man.
Benda Giovanotto.
You like that, huh? Look at that.
I love that.
So that's, I think the interesting thing, I read this book called, I read part of it. I'm in the process of reading it. I've been so overwhelmed with shit. It's called Outliers by a guy named Malcolm Gladwell. And it talks about like the absolute people who are the absolute pinnacle of what they do. And it just goes back to what we were touching on before, where it's like, to get to that point, you have to be the best to get to that point. So you have to put in so much hard work, and you have to be so dedicated to do it. And this could be anything. Like we're talking about acting, we're talking about podcasting, we're talking about whatever. But if you want to be the best carpenter of all carpenters, you don't just like, when I hire people for my company, I do the construction company. A lot of these guys, young guys, they work for like a month or two and they're like, "Oh yeah, I could be the supervisor." I'm like, "You don't even know how to use a fucking saw yet." You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here. And you start to, you start to see that, and you want to like, people have to understand that you have to put into hard work to get to the points that you want to get to. I've always been interested in like that journey. And sometimes that journey is more important than actually getting to where you need to be. You know what I mean? Like once you get there, it's great, but sometimes that journey is real fulfilling, to get to that point. You might hit it big one day and you may say, "Man, I remember back when I filmed, fucking Capo Rise of Power, and I was driving William DeMayo to sets, and it might work out." Or you might be on this journey forever. And that's great if you're on this journey forever. It really never ends. And if you can make a living from it, what would you rather be? Filming a scene in the rain in California, Or I always use this saying, breaking rocks with your head, or breaking fucking rocks with your head. You know what I mean? So those are the things that, you know.
At my age, I don't want to break no rocks. You know what I mean?
No,
you know?
Of course not.
So,
I was laughing. I had a friend of mine. She posted on her Facebook page that she had her podcast was in the top 2% of all podcasts. So I looked mine up, and I was like, I had stopped doing the podcast a while ago because I ended up making a lot of money from the construction company, and I was the only person advertising on my podcast, right? So I was getting guests were giving me gigs, people were calling up. It was really it really worked out. But then I kind of let the podcast go, and I kind of got into really just focus on the construction. So I look mine up, and I'm like, oh shit, this podcast is in the top 10% of all podcasts. There's almost 3 million podcasts, and this podcast is in the top 10%. So I got in touch with Rob. I said, I need somebody to help me do this podcast, and I got to bring it up to the next level, because if it's successful now, and I haven't done it for a while, and I've been literally, bro, I hit record. I don't know shit. I never did a video. You know, it's all like all my friends.
You were top 10%.
Yes.
With no video. That's impressive.
No video. Yeah, no video and no clue.
Like, you know, you're going to pitch really well today, but I'm going to tie the left arm to your body. So good luck with that, son.
You should. Rob's texting me. He's like, stop sitting the way you're sitting, and you know, send me links to what the fuck Tony's talking about. But the funny thing in the whole thing is you don't know. So then you get motivated. So right now you're like in the beginning of this, and you're like super, super motivated. Like, I'll take another part, and you might have to turn something down. You might have to take something maybe you're not 100% with, but you start to get that feeling. For me, it's like the podcast and filming the podcast and reading commercials that Rob tells me to read, and sitting, let's move the camera this way. Let's try 3,000 different light strategies to make sure that you don't look washed out and all this kind of stuff. And
well, no one told you to dress like you were going to a Formula One race. Jesus.
Well, listen, I wore Ferrari. I wore Ferrari shirt. I'm in the Tifosi.
It's like he's on fire. There's so much light bouncing off of him.
Oh my God. Listen, I love Ferrari, bro. I got into auto racing maybe like 5 years ago. I'm nuts. I stand in front of fucking TV. I root for Ferrari. You know what I mean? I'm like an absolute lunatic when it comes to Sunday mornings, bro. That's when I don't answer the phone. Forget that, bro. I got no time. Sunday morning, auto races on. I don't want to hear shit. You know what I mean? So I go to the gym afterwards, and Ferrari wins. I'm happy. Ferrari doesn't win, maybe not so much. But at the end of the day, it's something to do. But you're in the infancy of what you're doing. Kind of like me rebooting this, and I'm like, hey, you know what? There's maybe something here. You know what I mean? There's, you know, it was, and you know, the guys I had on the show are all guys that we knew from the past. Kirk Shaw, Ron Padron, all the usual fucking cast of characters. You know what I mean? So, and it did really well. But I had some crazy shit on too. I had one guy was addicted to porn. I had that was great. I was a little disappointed that the type of porn he was addicted to. I was hoping he was talking about like tying bitches up and stuff like that, but he was addicted to like people like just walking around naked on the beach. So I guess that's porn. So I guess that's good. But he's, you know, this guy turned his life, and he got into doing some different things. I had a trans attorney on the podcast, Liz. She's fucking great. I want to get her on the podcast again. And it's just, you build it. It's consistency. So you have to do this you have to constantly release content. You have to constantly prepare content. You have to, who's going to be my next guest? I got Tony this week. Who's going to be the next guy? And then you got to like sound interesting. We did a practice one to get me back in the mix. And I had Rob's niece on with us, Lisa. And, you know, and we talked about crazy shit. We talked about Batman. We talked about all kinds of like crazy shit. And I think that's what people want to hear. I think if you're genuine and that's who you are, it comes through. Like if you're genuine with what you do, it comes through in acting and podcasting and you know, building, putting in cabinets. If you're genuinely you and you're genuinely doing what you love and trying to do, I think that just makes you that adds to your success.
One goal growing up in anything you do, and no matter what you do, whether you're a carpenter, whether you're a plumber, I think as long as you work hard, you achieve goals. And relate back to the bail bond business. You ain't gonna catch this fucking guy. Here we are, me and Louis Facone, 3 days in the office, no sleep, no shaving. We caught the guy, and you know, hard work pays off no matter what it is that you do. You could be a surgeon, one time in the car, I was bringing a doctor, and he says, I didn't want to drive. I was exhausted. I just worked a 12-hour shift. What happened? He goes, I got an emergency surgery. I got home, I had dinner, I relaxed, and, you're taking me back over there. So I'm like, at the end of the day, people look at doctors. It's a hard job too. It's not easy. You know what I mean? And he's like, I'm doing what I do and what do I enjoy, saving lives. And,
if you're a lazy fuck, you sit on your couch, you're not going to get anywhere.
You're not going nowhere in life. You're not, it's just like the drug dealers on the corner. They want to sell, we used to say this in the bail business. They want to sell drugs. They want to make, let's say, $2,000 a week, but they want to spend $4,000 a week. Well, the numbers just don't add up at the end of the day. You can't spend $4,000 and only make $2,000. You know what I mean? So exactly, the format. And when I look at that and I say to myself, no matter what, I'm going to work hard to make sure something happens of this. You know what I mean? And, put the work in. And I'm sorry, today's youth, they don't like to put the work in. They just don't.
No,
they don't.
You want to laugh, Tone? Those guys, all the people we bailed out for smoking weed, we must have bailed out thousands of people. Smoking. Now weed's legal. You know what I mean? So you look at things like that, you're like, man, these guys got locked up, arrested, put in jail, it's in the fucking county jail.
And you could sit here and tell stories all day. I mean, it's today when I was thinking about the show, and I want to share this with you. One thing that came to mind, I can't mention name, obviously, was you gave me a file folder, and it was a guy out of middle our county, and he's like, dude, we got to pay out in this in the next like 3-4 days, a week or so. And it was like, it wasn't big. I had 25, 30, whatever it was, it adds up. And I, rest his soul. I says, my man, Louis Facone. I call out to him. We got to catch this guy for Ray. All right, I got to finish this case. And, we went in the office, and I remember you texting me that night. You were going home. Please, Eric's stressing out with this one. All right.
Oh, my God, yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about.
And you don't hear from me for about 24 hours, I want to say. Yo, dog, what's up? I need a plane ticket. Where are you? We're in fucking Miami. We got him. We got him.
Nice.
We ended up going all the way, we ended up going all the way down to Florida, and then we got him. You know what I mean? And
Tone, I'm laughing because there were so many good, I hear you, great. There were so many good bounty hunting stories. And even that job, like when you talk to people in the past, and you talk to people say, oh, I was a bounty hunter, I was a bail bondsman. Oh, that must have been so exciting. Nah, man, you sit in a car and bored for fucking 8-10 hours at a clip. You know what I mean? You get the excitement, you get that rush when you grab the guy. You know what I mean? But
it's the greatest feeling in the world. I mean, we started out in New Brunswick, and we worked one lead. Next thing you know, we were at Newark Airport jumping on a flight down to Fort Lauderdale, and me calling you saying, hey, we need a plane ticket to come home, and we got so-and-so in custody.
That was fucking great.
I
know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I actually know the whole case. I laughed because we had some really, really good recovery guys.
Yeah,
Ronnie,
we did.
You, Saeed,
yes,
John Ryder. These guys are fucking top-notch guys, and really could find just about anybody. It was very rare. Walter Fernandez really could literally find just about anybody anywhere. And it was that really off chance that you couldn't find that person or whatever. But we had one, and I remember when Facebook had first come out. Facebook was first on the scene, right? So me and Ronnie were sitting in the office, and we see this guy on fucking Facebook. And we look at the background pictures, like this fucking asshole's in Newark, right? Like he's taking pictures, you know where he's at. Like that building's in Newark, right? So we get Chloe to reach out to this guy, right? So she pads her face. Now, Chloe worked in the bail bond office. She was like the warrant clerk. Stunning, absolutely gorgeous, right? So she reaches out to this guy. And she's like, hey, I saw your profile on Facebook. And this guy's like kicking it to her, She's got her profile up there, and they're like talking. So like, all right, this is good. Get this guy to go out on a fucking date with you, and we'll grab him. Right?
He was actually from New York. I remember the case.
You know this case, right? So
I'm the one I transport him to the Monmouth County Jail.
So she gets him on the, she's talking, and the guy goes, "Yo, man, I want to be with you." And he's giving her like all the lines, right? And she goes, "All right, bring me out to dinner. Where you gonna bring me out to dinner?" And he goes, "Man," he goes, "I'm gonna bring you to McDonald's." Bro, she goes, "Fucking McDonald's?" Bro, she was crazy. I'm like, I remember me and Ronnie were like, no, let him bring you to McDonald's. She goes, I'm worth more than McDonald's. I'm like, oh my God, this is like, she was really into it, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But we have so many of those like adventures of, I think we set up in McDonald's and we grabbed the guy and we have so many of those stories. And one time Ronnie got me fucking good, man. He was in Atlantic City to catch this guy. And the motherfucker calls me up and he goes, "I got good news and I got bad news." I said, all right. I said, "What's the good news?" He goes, "Good news is we got this guy. We had to chase him and we caught him." I said, "All right." I said, "What's the bad news?" He shot the police dog.
Oh,
I said, "Oh man." I said, "That's fucking sucks." And then Ron goes, "Oh, the dog's name was Rex or some bullshit. And he was on the police force for 9 years and everybody's devastated." And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "All right." I said, "We're going to donate the money to buy a new police dog, right?" Yeah. And he goes, "Oh yeah, it was all a lie. They were all cracking up in the background because I was upset. Eric was upset. Everybody's upset. And fucking Ron's over there. Yeah, man, you should have seen this situation. There was not even a fucking police dog on the scene. There was nothing. They just caught the bro. But that was the crazy shit. And it was stressful, but at the same time, if you did your job right, and we built it, and we built it from Eric's kitchen table to 9 offices in New Jersey. We were writing bail in we were probably writing bail in 8 or 9 states. We wrote on our biggest years, we were writing about 15,000 bonds a year. That's how fucking crazy Blaze Bail Bonds was. Yeah. And it was out of control. And then one day the state's like, "Hey guys, just to let you know, there's not going to be any more bail bonds. We're going to switch to this algorithm system, which is exactly like the bail bond way that you approve a bail. Did the guy have a past record? Did he go to court? What's his charge?" It's almost like some bail bondsman wrote this algorithm.
Yeah,
probably, right? Some trader and wrote this algorithm, and now they're doing it. The state is doing it themselves, and there's still some guys out there, like Kirk says he still has his license. Do you still have your bail bond license?
No, I let it go. No.
Some guys do, but there's no business out there. But then you go across the bridge to Pennsylvania, and they're fucking writing bail like it's 1986. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They're fucking killing it. So, but I do miss that. One thing I like to ask everybody too is, in all of this, with the stress of having to work as an actor, stress of having to have that other job while you're on the way to being successful, being an actor, you have to take care of you. Number one thing, being Italians, we got to get rid of the Maloika. So that day I talked to you, I did the Maloika, you were good that day, but you never know. For any people who don't know what the Maloika is, it's a mal occhio. It is the evil eye.
Yeah.
All right. So I wear my chain over here with the horn on it. Hell yeah, brother. That's how you keep away the evil eye. I bet you Rob's a fellow Italian, but I don't know if he is as devoted to the evil eye as some of us other Italians.
And I got Padre Pio as my bracelet, and I have him in the car too.
Oh, you know what's interesting about that? I was on this Hallow app. It's an app on your phone. It's a Catholic app called Hallow, and they have wait, Rob, do you have one too?
I have one, but it's my kid's name's around my neck.
All right. Get rid of Maloika anyway.
But it's like leather. It's not metal. I can't stand the metal on my body all the time. So it's like a leathery kind of material.
I've had this on since I was 16. I took it off twice in my life. Once when the first day I was in the Army, and I convinced those guys that this was a religious symbol and I needed to wear it again, and they gave it back and not mailed it home. And then the other time was I had to have some kind of X-ray or something like that, or echocardiogram. And the guy said that it's creating interference in the echocardiogram, so you can't. I had to take it off. But what else do you do? Are you working out? Are you doing stuff to stay in shape, eating healthier? You look like you lost fucking 30 pounds, maybe more.
I mean, I have type 2 diabetes, so that was the wake up call. Us as Italians, we like to eat.
Sugar. So, if you're an Italian, I've got sugar.
Everything else is good. I do a little bit of walking. I watch my diet. I mean, that's where it's all at. It's in what you eat.
Yeah.
if I could shake off, not stay away from sweets, cannolis, whatever, I think I'll be fine. You know what I mean? That's what the killer is for me. I love the sweets, but I mean, as you get older in life, I mean, I was able to take off a substantial amount of weight, close to about 100 pounds already.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, just got to watch what you eat, but yeah, at the same time, you have to, you got to look out, but, and it's also energized me a lot more. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, for the most part, as you get older, you sit back, you take a look and you say, hey, you want to be here in life. You know what I mean? So,
I've been going to the gym, bro, and I've been working out. I have some goals. I got this crazy goal. I was telling Rob about it, where I want to hike the Appalachian Trail in New Jersey. There's like a 70-mile stretch of the Appalachian Trail in New Jersey. So like, I have like all these crazy goals and things. I told my wife a couple of days ago, I said, I'm going to start going on adventures. And she goes, what the fuck are you talking about? And I go, oh, no, I'm going to go on adventures. I go, what kind of adventures? Well, I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail. She goes, you're fucking nuts. Go ahead. So I was like, all right. You know what I mean? So my vision is I want to go on like these, these adventures, these things. As you get older, you start to see these things. You know what I mean?
Well, the funny thing is, Ray, the room that you're in there before there had all the guitars on the wall.
Yes.
My uncle is actually did that, and he's a photographer, and he does art. And I'll show you the pictures before you leave. Yeah, they're really cool photographs that he does. Al Foti is the guy. So Al Foti Design. And I'll share the link with everyone in the
dude, for
he's
sure.
Got
That's
amazing pictures of like nature, like the most amazing things you have ever seen.
To me, I love being outside. I'll go run through the park. I'll go do that kind of stuff. And I feel better for doing it. Back in December, I was in bad fucking shape. I was working on New Year's Day, finishing this kitchen for these people, right? Great people, lovely people. But I'm like, fuck, it's a New Year's Day. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I mean, I lost a lot of weight. I was all stressed out. I was like, what? Because my problem's the opposite. When I get stressed, I don't eat. I can't eat when I get stressed out. So I just lose weight. I get fucked up. I do whatever. And so now I made these changes. And a big thing that helped me with making the changes is my one daughter, Autumn. She goes to the gym every day. She's a great athlete. My other daughter, Emma, the exact same thing, multi-sport athletes. And that was stuff that helped me. I saw them and what they're doing and how they're working out and the things they're doing to take care of themselves. The younger one's as strong as a fucking horse, Chase, you know what I mean? And then my older son, Austin, bro, he's ripped. He does like 1,000 push-ups a day or some crazy shit. I don't know what the hell he does. He's just 6-pack ripped. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm looking at these guys. These guys are all doing well. I'm 50, I'm 50 years old. I'm falling the fuck apart. So I said, I'm not doing that. So I started, working out, going to gym, walking. Listen, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm not there to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I'm there to try to take care of myself a little bit. And those are the things. I never really did that in the past. And then the bail bonds, bro, I fucking abused myself. I was, between trips to Vegas, trips to wherever else they had these quote unquote conventions, out all night, playing fucking poker, doing that kind of stuff. Just, and then the years go by and you say to yourself, the thing that helped me really big too was I found out that I had a gluten intolerance and I'm gluten free. Now the pasta is not as good. I'm not going to lie to you. The pasta is not as good. There's some brands that are better than others, but that changed me a lot. That really, really helped me out a lot because I was sick every day. As soon as I would eat, I'd be in the bathroom and I was sick. I was like that for the better part of my life. And then I got tested and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. The ladies like, stop eating gluten. You're going to feel great. Literally stopped eating gluten. And everything went like, I started feeling better. I started feeling, everything started working out. So you're right. The diet is super, super important. And just staying in shape is super important too. What are some projects we could see you on in the future? So we talked about Capo. We talked about Gray's End. I know you said you did something with clowns. What's the name? What's the name of that show?
The what? Which one?
The clown one. You said that you were doing something with clowns.
So I mainly have done shows and, that's actually going to be a movie, a flick, and it's going to be, about comedy.
What's the name of it? Do you know yet?
It's called Business. Yeah, it's called Business. Yeah.
All right.
And I actually have a photo shoot for that coming up soon. After you film, they'll do a photo shoot to get it, get it ready for the premiere and all of that stuff. So
that sounds like porn. That sounds like porn to me, but I'll see it
no,
when it comes
it's
out.
not, no, not porn at all. Great time shooting, and like I said, I had a major role on that. So and a lot of times when you take on these roles, it's just for the experience, So
Sure.
I also wanted to prove to myself that it's only not just doing mafia movies and being Italian. There's other things I can do. I'm in negotiation now with a scary movie. You know what I mean? I'd like to do that. The more I can get on the resume, the more doors it opens for you. You know what I mean? So that was
somebody
awesome.
wants to start on this because everybody listening to this podcast is fucking all the same knuckleheads that we know. If they all want to, if anyone want to speak, what would you say the first step is? You drove William DeMayo. Not everybody's going to be able to do that, but if you wanted to, did you try to be an extra and that's like the first step, or you try to work your way in somewhere?
Yeah, there's always casting calls out there. You got to be careful because everybody and their mother. It's like now in Jersey with this. Not to get off one subject, I mean, I'm very familiar with this with these carry permits. Now they've moved into things where anybody can have a carry permit in New Jersey. You don't need a justifiable reason to carry the way we used to carry through
Thank
work.
God. Thank God.
I see these people advertising, come to my school, $900. Mika, what is this guy charging for $900? this. It's a way for them to make money. And then when it comes to acting, it's the same way. Sometimes somebody will come across, hey, why don't you do that? I'll come up and say, hey, I did this. Hello, you still there? You know what I mean? And, I think you need me. I don't need you right now. You have to be careful of what's out there. I mean, you might get somebody to give you the right exposure, but for the most part, when they have these open cast calls and be ready because you're going to be doing a lot of them for nothing, for free. I've done a lot.
Oh, sure.
Free. You got to go out there and, some people, the mentality of some people, it's again, this youth is, they don't want to do nothing for nothing. Where on the long run, you might go on a set, and you might just be a guy sitting in the background smoking a cigar. And, another maybe well-known actor might have saw you. And then he's going to go to another set. And he's like, wait a minute, I remember that kid, Tony Fazz. Find Tony Fazz. He speaks Italian.
He's the guy.
He can fit in this role, and then that's how it works. I mean, you just got to be, you got to work hard, and it just goes from there. And that's, but basically, at the end of the day, I say it over and over: if you don't work hard, you're not going nowhere in life. You could be the best actor. You could be the best actor in the world. I mean, you got to work hard. You got to do what they tell you, and But for the most part, you start out, doing background work. Today it's a lot easier as far as trying to find work. Because with social media, with digital advertising, everything's on the phone. And the greatest part is, I do all of my casts when I audition for something right off the phone. If they want to, hey, they'll go. They'll tell you to come back, for a second audition. And, like with business, I did the first audition with business, and then I sent them a second reel. The second reel wanted me to, the part that he wanted me to cast for. So. Right. That helps a lot. I remember when my little brother used to go, it was always getting a car, drive to New York City. I mean, it's
now you can do it from your house.
It's costly to go into the city with gas and tolls and everything. Yeah. So now
what's your thought real quick on this carry permit thing? Because for me, I think it's great. I think that if you are a stable, fucking right-minded human being and you want to carry a gun, New Jersey never allowed you to do that. Ever, ever, ever. And now you can. I think it's good. What's your thought on it?
So I've had the opportunity to travel to a lot of great states in that line of work. And I tell everybody this, even before the carry permit came out. New Jersey is what we call one of the most top police heavy states. And what I mean by that is you have certain towns that are I will use Perth Amboy as an example, 3.5 square miles, a little bit over 120 cops.
It's crazy.
When I moved to the town I'm in, Monroe, it's 46 square miles. There was 14 cops. Okay, the crime statistics is totally different. You go out to,
Hold on. Monroe, like Monroe Township, New Jersey?
Yes.
That's where I grew up, believe it or not.
Really?
My whole life. I grew up on Monmouth Road. You know where Mill Lake School? You know where
I know exactly where I know exactly where it is.
You drive down 10th Avenue and if you make a left if you would have drove straight through, you would hit my neighbor's house. My house would be the one to the left.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
And I lived there for 30 years, pretty much.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
I got married.
Okay, so
small world. Small world.
Yeah, I've been here 23 years now. Going on 23 years.
Wow.
So
but we're talking about the permit. I think
but
it's good.
But I know. Listen, getting back to the permit. Again, other states where if you live in middle of nowhere, you're calling a sheriff. Sheriff is an hour out. That's just the way it is. I mean, you could be calling for a sheriff in Trenton. Meantime, he's all the way up in Woodbridge. That's the gap difference, because that's just how big surrounding areas are, and that's your closest backup. So a lot of other states got used to saying, hey, we have to do something for ourselves. Today, in today's world, policing just isn't what it was anymore. These guys can't do their job anymore. I'm glad we're out of the business. I mean, it's a total train wreck. I mean, right now, in today's day and age here in New Jersey and my town, a lot of surrounding towns, they're stealing cars like it's going out of style.
I believe it.
And it's starting to get out of hand. And they know, even if they're, this young generation has zero respect. I don't know who brought them up. They're ramming the police cars, and they're taking off. And then they know, as per Attorney General guidelines, these officers can't chase them.
They can't do anything.
Something minor. They can't do anything, And getting back to this whole thing, I mean, forget about the Second Amendment and all of that. I mean, I always tell people, at least own one gun, have something to be able to protect yourself. And that's why I think I never thought I'd see the day, even though I've had a carry permit since the 90s, that they would allow civilians to carry. But I mean, it's the new wave. I mean, a lot of counties are dragging their feet on it, but at the end of the day, you go across the bridge to Pennsylvania, and I have a carry permit out of Pennsylvania. Everybody carries. I mean, it's a new formality now. There's nothing you can do about it.
Everybody has a gun in PA, bro, and I don't see any difference in PA versus New Jersey. It's the same.
And I just think some people, everybody has their right mind of that they don't. And I've had conversations with people, and I say to them, remember something: criminals don't follow no rules.
Yeah.
And I remember many times when we had PD involvement, we were executing warrants on certain individuals. And one thing that would pop up in the state of New Jersey, I don't know if other states have this, and it would be certain persons not to have weapons. And basically what that means is they're career criminals. They're not allowed to have guns. I don't ever remember in executing a warrant of that nature that the guy didn't have a gun on him. It was a greater fact that he's going to have a gun. And then you get somebody to say, well, he knows if he gets caught, he's going to have to do 5 years. You think he cares? He don't give a shit.
They don't give a shit.
It's not like when they went back to the 10 magazine ban in New Jersey, they dropped 15 down to 10. I asked all friends that are still cops, do you ever catch anybody with a magazine with less than 15 rounds? Absolutely not.
No,
everybody's got more than 10 rounds in a magazine. You know what I mean? And et cetera, et cetera.
You're kidding yourself if you think that the criminals are going to follow the rules. It doesn't happen. That's just foolishness.
It's just not going to happen. I mean, unless you really broaden the law where you ban guns totally. And if you did catch somebody who had a gun other than law enforcement, you give them a 25-year life sentence with no plea deal, maybe then for a certain thing. But I've noticed in all the years I worked the streets, everybody has a different drive in their mind as far as what they want to do when it comes to criminal activity. And you're not going to change their mindset. It's the same thing getting back to warrants. Why you didn't go to court? I don't know. It's like, that set mentality.
Yeah, here's the thing with the gun. Here's the thing with the guns. There's so many places in this country that don't even have internet access. I mean, it's crazy to think of how, when you think about how we live in 250 million out of 330 million live on one side of a line on the map. And literally, if you ever call the cops in one of those rural towns, it might take you a half hour to an hour to get someone to come to your house. If you could.
Lucky.
So your primary self-defense has to be what got us to be a country in the beginning. And I don't think they can ever get rid of it. That's the point. I don't think they can ever say we're banning all weapons. It's not going to happen.
No,
it's never going to happen.
These liberals can think it all day, but it's just, you're right. It's never ever going to happen. Never. You know what I mean?
I think it's a good thing that they did it. I think if you could get some training and you could learn how to hold the gun the right way and learn how to fire the gun the right way.
Well, you can mandate training. You could. When I had to get a carry permit in the 90s, I literally had to go for a class, and you had a score, and if you didn't score over 80 or 85 or 90, whatever the score was, you weren't able to have a carry permit.
I'd be fine with that.
That question's been brought up in discussion the past few months, and my answer to that is when you go to qualify, obviously, in order to carry a firearm in the state of New Jersey, you have to qualify. That qualification right there, the instructor watches you, how you reload, how you unload, and how you handle that firearm when you qualify to shoot. I feel compelled that that's enough training when you're holding that gun. If some people want to take extra courses, that's fine. I mean, I could, I was trained by a lieutenant from state police, and he showed me how to reload a magazine if one of my hands was out of commission. It's not easy, but he showed me basically how how they were taught in the state police academy. God forbid you ever get shot and one of your arms is disabled, showed me how to reload. So, I mean, there's certain other things you can learn. And that's a situation with that.
Do that. And maybe some people get off the couch and get out there and do some training and have not only just a mean to protect themselves, but also a means to be successful.
Well, that's how it works.
I hope so. Tone, it was great having you on the podcast. If the listeners absolutely, brother. If the listeners want to follow you, how could they find you?
On Instagram, it's Tony Fazz, TonyFazz.
And you post everything on Instagram and make sure all your fans. You post a lot, or you post like every day.
Yeah. Instagram is more of the way to go because it's a little less. Not that it can't get encrypted, but it's a little less of a risk as far as like Facebook is just totally disastrous. But if they want to go on there, they could follow me on there, and they can also follow our show. Capo Rise to Powers on there, and we'll be releasing another trailer very soon. And then we're looking to release that show sometime in 2023. I mean, we have to go back and film more. Waiting on my script on that. But that's a good place to follow. It keeps you updated with everything.
Absolutely. Tony, it was awesome having you on the podcast. It was great that you're having this, and I appreciate you too. And I'm really happy that you're having this success. And I want to see you. I want you to say when you're winning your Academy Award, I want you to say, I was on the Ray Agliata podcast back in the day. I knew that fucking guy since 2000. That's all I want to hear in the acceptance speech. So
absolutely.
Thank you for being on the
Oscar,
man.
by the way.
Yeah, I'm aiming high. I'm not going to give him like a Tony Award or an Emmy. This guy's got to get an Oscar. You know what I mean?
Gotta get Oscars. We never know. We never know what's going to happen in life. We never know what's going to happen in life. You don't know.
Absolutely. So, Tony, thanks for being on the show.